Post-apocalyptia, a genre that can have many meanings and many different variations. From the crazed and colorful world of the Borderlands series to the derelict sect of humanity in The Last of Us, the video game industry has many different forms of it, but none have proven to be more unique and intriguing than the Fallout series. Taking the drab post-apocalyptic genre and giving it a 1950s attitude, there was nothing quite like it, leading the way forward in strategy role-playing gameplay and storytelling. The franchise seems to dominate this genre even to this day, but how did it all start out? Where did the ideas and inspirations for this series sprout? Well, it all started with one man and an unfamiliar wasteland.
Shine, little glowworm, glimmer, glimmer, shine, little glowworm, glimmer, glimmer, lead us light.
In the late 1980s, Interplay was a brand new entrant into the publishing and developing space. Their critically and commercially acclaimed The Bard's Tale series had launched them into the stratosphere of the then emerging PC gaming community. But what would define them would not be this fantasy epic, but would be something much more dark. In 1988, the team would release the game Wasteland, a post-apocalyptic RPG that was revolutionary for its time, introducing one of the very first persistent worlds in gaming. Taking place in a derelict 2087, after the collapse of society following a global nuclear war, players were charged with being a member of the Desert Rangers, a remnant of the army in the southwestern United States, and they had to investigate a series of disturbances in nearby areas. While video games of the era took a mostly light and fluffy approach to storytelling, Wasteland went down the darker route. Choices were no longer simply black and white, and were evidently various shades of gray. You could make a choice that haunts you forever, and you'll never be able to change it back. As for Wasteland's visuals, like most games of its time, the graphics were simple at best, but that's all they needed to be. The story and the way you play was paramount. Wasteland's mechanics, on the other hand, were based directly on those used in the tabletop role-playing games Tunnels and Trolls and Mercenaries, Spies and Private Eyes, which were created by Wasteland designers Ken Andre and Michael Stackpole. Characters in Wasteland consequently have various stats such as strength, intelligence, and luck, among others, that allow them to use different skills and weapons. Experience is gained through battle and through the use of skills. The game would generally let players advance through a variety of means. There were many ways to play Wasteland, not just one. These ideas introduced here would rattle the gaming industry for years to come, and since Wasteland was financially successful, a sequel, of course, was on its way. Releasing in 1990, Fountain of Dreams was branded as the technical sequel to Wasteland, but was nothing of the sort, as it was created internally by EA itself. Tim Kaine and the team at Interplay were not involved in any way, shape, or form. Fountain of Dreams was the beginning of a darker trend at EA, pushing away its subsidiary developers and creating mediocre sequels to their properties in-house. A smaller game, taking place in a post-nuclear Florida, Fountain of Dreams included what some of Wasteland had created, but to a very small degree. The press and fans alike instead preferred to reject its existence and hope for a true sequel to the masterpiece. But that would not come for quite some time. Unfortunately for Interplay, the rights to Wasteland stayed firmly in EA's grasp due to the fact that Interplay had recently released a 10th anniversary pack containing the game through EA. Seeing this, the team at Interplay, led by one Tim Kaine, decided to take a different approach. Taking their ideas and knowledge of the world they created, Tim Kaine led the charge on this effort. But where to start? First was the inspiration. The team at Interplay looked towards one of the most popular tabletop role-playing games, GURPS. The series seemed like a perfect fit for the team's vision, so they soon contacted Steve Jackson Games for the rights to the adaptation. Initially, there was a lot of skepticism coming from Steve Jackson as Interplay approached him with an offer. Interplay still had not decided what their first GURPS game would be about. Tim Kaine proposed the idea of huge fallout shelters, called vaults, that would protect the public from a nuclear war. In lieu of this, they gave their new creative endeavor the affectionately named title of Vault 13, a GURPS post-nuclear war adventure. Before they could start, however, Tim Kaine had already laid down the groundwork. Starting in 1994, he built the entire game's engine from scratch, a feat that seemed nigh impossible. With no money and no resources, Kaine was able to create it in 6 months, astonishing the collectives at Interplay. With the right man on the job, the company let him assemble a team of 30 people to create the game in the next 3 years. Over this time, the game was nearly cancelled outright after Interplay acquired licenses to new tabletop games, and Vault 13 was almost changed into a real-time MMORPG, like the classic Ultima Online. But Kaine was steadfast in his conviction toward the product, and was successful in keeping his vision alive. But where did it start? First, they laid down a few simple rules. Rule number 1, multiple decisions. We will always allow for multiple solutions to any obstacle. Rule number 2, no useless skills. The skills we allow you to take will have meaning in the game. Rule number 3, dark humor is good. Slapstick is not. Rule number 4, let the player play how he wants to play. Rule number 5, your actions have repercussions. These 5 rules laid down the groundwork for the entire game. It was supposed to be no holds barred. Anything, no matter how dark, would be allowed, even the killing of children. This was early in 1995, and even saying the word ass was illegal from public broadcasting. Interplay wanted to push the limits of the gaming genre and the populace itself to its absolute and outer limits. Because of these changes, the title was appropriately changed into Fallout, a GURPS post-nuclear adventure, as a means to reflect the darker storytelling. But someone, of course, was bound to disagree with their way of thinking. In early 1997, in the midst of Fallout's development, Steve Jackson Games and Interplay suddenly terminated their deal. Apparently, Steve Jackson Games was satisfied with everything except for the iconic Vault Boy pictures in the character screen, and the execution scene in the introduction was too much for them to handle. As the split between Fallout and GURPS became imminent, Steve Jackson remarked, "The GURPS implementation they've created is worth saving." Taking this to heart, and at the last minute too, the title was changed to Fallout, a post-nuclear role-playing game, and the GURPS system was replaced with the newly designed Special Character System. But upon release, Fallout was just as revolutionary as its predecessor, Wasteland, taking place 84 years later, in 2161, after nuclear war between China and the United States decimated the human race. Fallout tasks you as a Vault Dweller from Vault 13 to find a new water chip out in the derelict wasteland. Giving you the now iconic Pip-Boy 2000 and some meager equipment, the player is thrust into the remains of Southern California to find their salvation. Along the way, you encounter raiders, mutant monstrosities, and government conspiracies from a time gone by. All the while, the game has an unsettlingly cheery 1950s backdrop, with the cultural values of them seeming to clash with the ones of today. The ideology of the 50s and things like the nuclear family and the threat of communism permeate the series, creating a sort of uniqueness to it. More interestingly though, the game was also one of the first to include a character creation system, an innovative idea for the time. This is where the old GURPS system came into play. Where GURPS was supposed to define the character's strengths and weaknesses, the special system picked it up instead. Defining the character's various stats, it allowed the player to create whomever they wanted. Unlike Wasteland's text-based and two-dimensional world, Fallout was played on a pseudo-isometric 2.5-dimensional plane. Exploration was key here. Even though there was the timed mission of getting the water chip back within 400 days, players were still encouraged to wander off the beaten path and interact with the local inhabitants. Just like in real life, the people have their own inherent problems, which the player may choose to solve, in order to acquire karma and experience points. Where Fallout deviates from most role-playing video games is that it often allows for these problems to be tackled in various ways, often choosing solutions that are unconventional or even contrary to the original task at hand. These actions may prove to be minor ones, but some may change the game world forever. But just like in Wasteland, players had to fend off mutants and their fellow man alike. Instead of a text-based combat system, Interplay went with a strategy role-playing game approach. As it is turn-based, combat uses an action point system, wherein each turn, multiple actions may be performed, until all points in the pool have been expended. Different actions consume different numbers of points, so players would have to choose their targets wisely. While this would have made for an ordinary tactical RPG, what really spiced it up were the perks. Perks were special elements of the level up system. Every 3 levels, a perk is granted of the player's choosing. They can grant special effects such as letting the player have more actions per turn, or make them more smooth of a talker. The various stats came into play too, with your decision affecting whether you can run around beating people with a baseball bat or shooting them in the head with a pistol. With a unique setting all of its own and gameplay and exploration that separated itself from the crowd, Fallout was a sure win for Interplay. Releasing in 1997 to critical and commercial acclaim, Interplay's latest title became a smash hit. The hard work and dedication of the team and incredibly dedicated Tim Kaine had poured their hearts and souls into this project, and had now come out on top. Fallout had redefined what it meant to be in the post-apocalypse, with its zany characters and even wilder premise. And that is what fans had grown to love about the Fallout franchise. And of course, they wanted more. But could they hit gold once again? Or were there some hard times on the horizon? Thank you for being awesome and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this look into the first Fallout. Be sure to stay tuned until next time when we talk about Fallout 2 and continue your thirst for knowledge.